Big news today on a potential NCAA postseason ban for Michigan. We're going to talk about what it means and if it will actually do anything to them in the college football playoffs. Welcome in, everyone. I am your host, JR, and we are going to be talking today about the potential postseason ban for Michigan and whether or not they could be impacted on their qualification for the college football playoffs if, in fact, they do get a postseason ban. So, first things first, let's talk about where this information comes from. Chris Balas from the Wolverine, the On3 site for Michigan football and basketball, all those things, women's basketball. He put out an article today outlining that the NCAA is prepared to issue a notice of allegations to Michigan, in his words, as soon as this week, maybe tomorrow. Actually, that might have been the words from a source. Anyway, in the article, it says as soon as this week, maybe tomorrow. So that is obviously big news. If Michigan gets a notice of allegations this week, that means that 90 days from now will lead them to some kind of punishment, something like that. Now, when you get a notice of allegations, we're going to review this here in a little bit. When you get a notice of allegations, it does not issue your punishment right then and there. Look back when Michigan got their notice of allegations in December of 2023 and what happened there. They did not get any punishment until 90 days later because 90 days, they have 90 days to respond, the school does, and then they work that out together. Anyway, like I said, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But this is for the Michigan sign stealing operation that was under Jim Harbaugh, conducted by Connor Stallions. There is still some debate on whether or not Jim Harbaugh knew. If you're like me, you think he had to have known. But, if you're a Team Up North fan, you think, oh, there's no way he knew. And Connor Stallions was just that slick. Well, anyway, let's talk about some violations for individuals that Chris Balas pointed out here. And this is all from sources. He's saying that this is all from people that are sourcing him the information. He doesn't say where they're from. Some of them he says these are from people that are from Michigan, and then other ones he just says sources. So we can be led to believe that they don't have any affiliation with Michigan, but he doesn't outright say that. So first person is Connor Stallions. A level 1 violation is expected for former staffer Connor Stallions' role in involvement and arrangement for off-campus in-person scouting. So his role in setting up the tickets, buying the tickets, or paying people for the tickets after they bought them, whatever that might be. That's when you get back to the Venmo transactions. And then his failure to cooperate in an investigation during and after employment. So what they're saying here is Connor Stallions has not, or what Chris Balas is saying, is that Connor Stallions has not cooperated with the investigation, given the NCAA the information that they want. That is similar to the violation that Jim Harbaugh got, which also was a level 1 violation back when he got his punishment for what happened in the Burgergate situation. Balas also outlines another level 1 is expected to be levied against a former staff member. It doesn't say coach, just says staffer, for a separate incident involving dinner and a ride for student athletes. So level 1 seems a little high for that to me personally, but maybe there's something there that we don't know, and maybe the notice of allegations will point out who that staffer is. 2 other former coaches are expected to be accused. This one did say coaches. 2 former coaches are expected to be accused of level 2 violations. Paying for the dinner is the violation there. And then 1 current coach, whoever that might be, could be Ron Bellamy, could be Sharon Moore, could be any number of people who were on the staff last year. 1 coach, however, alleged to delete several texts between him and Stallions. So who might that coach be? Like I said, we might not figure it out. Who knows? Balas said it might not even be in the notice of allegations. I find that hard to believe. If there's deleted texts between them and Stallions, I feel like that would be mentioned, but he says it might not be. There has been there has been no recommendation to vacate any championships or wins. Now, he doesn't say it's been shot down. He just says there's been no recommendation to vacate any of those championships or wins. Very interesting there. One source said the NCAA could seek a postseason ban of 1 or 2 years. We're going to talk more about that later on. Again, that's what the video is mostly about. A Michigan source, so like I said, he outlines who here is from Michigan and who is not. A Michigan source told us, him being Chris Balas, would have accepted a large fine, but would absolutely, in quotes, fight any postseason ban or anything similar. Now, this is where it gets a little wonky, right? Because we were told that Michigan was going to fight anything that the Big Ten tried to do. But when the Big Ten sent their 13-page letter, Michigan lied down, whatever you want to call it, and took it. And they said, okay, you got the dirt on us. You've pointed everything out. You gave us 13 pages, and you're not wrong. So we're just going to lie down and take it. I guess they didn't say you're not wrong, but they didn't fight it. Like they said they were. That's what we heard from the media. That's what we heard from fans and everybody for the longest time, is that Michigan's going to fight this. They're not going to let this happen. So who knows? Are they actually willing to fight it this time? Or are they just puffing out their chests and talking big? Who knows? We'll see. If I'm a Michigan fan, I hate to hear that because, we heard this before. Why would you say it again if they're not actually going to do anything? But that's just me. I'm sure they believe that will happen this time. Some believe the NCAA is looking to make an example of Michigan for what the association believes was Michigan thumbing its nose at them throughout the investigation. Now, sure, some might believe that, and they wouldn't necessarily be wrong. I mean, the bet, right? The embrace by the fans of Connor Stallions. I mean, Connor Stallions has become a joke to some fans, not all fans, but to some fans, he's become a joke to the NCAA. You can't stop us. They're buying beer for this guy, thanking him for their national championship for this guy. Again, not all Michigan fans, but some are acting in such a way. And so is it possible that the NCAA is looking at this and say, we're going to make an example of you because we don't want you, making fun of us? Very possible. Next part, one source told us that Michigan response probably wouldn't go before the NCAA Committee on Infractions before mid-2025, and that will likely take years to resolve. In other words, no team in the near future is expected to be punished. So we have this talk about punishments and what's going on, no recommendations for these things, and yet at the very end we get, but it's not going to come till mid-2025. Well, it's currently mid-2024, so a year from now, basically. And that seems very convenient to me with what comes next. Oh, I apologize. There's one more thing. One source said they strongly believe the evidence doesn't support any such punishment, even though Chris Balas was the one who was reporting months ago that the NCAA had overwhelming punishment or overwhelming evidence against Michigan and that they were going to punish them. But now, Chris Balas is reporting that one of his sources saying that they strongly believe the evidence doesn't support any punishment. You tell me, is that going back and forth? Or is Chris Balas just saying, here's what my sources are saying? Kind of seems like it's going back and forth to me. And then the last line, watch thewolverine.com for more on this development in the hours and days to come. Now that's convenient, right? That you're going to put all this information out here, source this, source that. This could be, this could not be. This isn't going to happen. This is going to happen. And then you say, but continue to follow us. Now, this could just be something they put at the end of every single article, and I'm sure they do put it at the end of every article. Follow thewolverine.com for all this information, yada, yada, yada. But are we really putting it past somebody to not just get a little bit of clicks, get a little bit more insight, watch our show, figure out a little bit more? That's kind of what it seems like to me. And I did some research on some Michigan fans' opinions of Chris Balas, and there are many Michigan fans, not all, there are many Michigan fans that do feel like Chris Balas is a little bit of a click-hungry guy. Now, I have no idea Chris Balas myself personally. I've not found all of his sourcing and predictions credible. However, he does seem to know some people at Michigan, and maybe he does have some good information, but it also seems like he's going back and forth a little bit. So how much of this is correct? How much of this is the way things are right now? But I highly doubt the way things are now, if we're going to wait until mid 2025 for punishments, I highly doubt this kind of stuff is going to keep until then. But the notice of allegations could come out this week. If the notice of allegations does come out this week, I might be a little bit more inclined to believe Chris Balas. However, if the notice of allocations doesn't come out this week, it doesn't come out on Tuesday, tomorrow, maybe recording this on Monday, then I'm going to start being pretty skeptical of what Chris Balas said. So in time, I'm sure we'll figure it out. But for now, I'm going to kind of wait and see. But I am a little skeptical. Here's how this works. All right, let's just go through the timeline of how these NCAA investigations work. School commits violation, right? They do whatever they've done, recruiting violation, sign stealing operation, whatever it is. Well, sign stealing is not against the rule. In-person scouting operation, whatever it is. The NCAA figures out about it, and they investigate. This is where we're at right now, step 2. Step 3, the NCAA issues a notice of allegations, which just summarizes the NCAA's position and accuses the school of their violations. Here's what you did wrong. Here's what we have against you. And you have 90 days to respond. Step number 4. 90 days to respond to the notice of allegations. And then after that, the punishment is determined by a negotiation between the NCAA and the school. They negotiate it. And then 2 other committees are also in the negotiation, figuring out what that punishment should be. We're only on step 2 right now. This is going to take a long time. And the longer this goes on, the more and more people are going to get confident. But I do want to investigate this idea of a postseason ban and the notion that Michigan fans and Michigan media have out there that a postseason ban would only affect bowl games because the NCAA has no power over the college football playoffs. Now, are they correct that the NCAA has no power against the college football playoffs? To an extent. Yes, the NCAA does not have power over the college football playoffs to tell them exactly what to do. But the college football playoffs works with the conferences work with the NCAA, and in turn, they all work together. Let me explain. I can't believe this is even an argument because the NCAA champion is determined by the college football playoffs. The NCAA determines who their champion is by the college football playoffs. So yes, the NCAA does not have power over the college football playoffs, but there is also an relationship of working together here between those two. The College Football Playoff Selection Committee receives their criteria from its board of managers, who are presidents of NCAA schools. The NCAA Division I football subdivision, also known as FBS, is the only NCAA-sponsored sport without an official organized NCAA tournament to determine its champion. Again, the NCAA does not organize the college football playoffs. It's not their baby. It's not what they do. Now, FCS, they do that. That's their thing. The tournament that is most widely known is obviously March Madness, the college basketball tournament, which is their cash cow. That's what they make the most money from. So when you think of the NCAA and the college football playoffs and kind of how they work together, think of the NCAA as a kind of for-hire private security firm rather than a business partner. These aren't 2 groups that are working together to figure everything out, but they're almost like this hired security firm that the college football playoff is using, so they don't have to think about all that's going on. Do we need to punish this team? Is this team eligible? Can this team do that? Can they do this? Should they be bowl eligible or not? They leave that up to the NCAA. The NCAA has been doing that for a long time. And what this really comes down to is that the conferences don't want to try and punish these teams. Because at the end of the day, conferences wouldn't be able to punish teams because this team would be doing that, this team would be doing this, and they wouldn't want to punish any of them because your own conference wouldn't punish them. Here's what Tony Petitti had to say. There's a lot of cooperation with the NCAA in terms of the information that we had access to, working with our administrators and ultimately our presidents and chancellors as well. He said it was a completely collaborative process. So, yes, the NCAA does not have power over the college football playoffs and the conferences, but they choose to work together. The Big Ten chooses to work with the NCAA as their for-hire private security firm. So could the College Football Playoff Committee decide to disregard the NCAA? They could. If they wanted to, they could. Will they? No, they will not. And we have history of this. There has been a long history of teams having bowl bans. If you don't know the history of how the NCAA no longer had the ruling over the postseason, the bowl games in college football, go back and look at what Oklahoma did in I think it was the late 70s, early 80s, somewhere in that time frame. That's how you got the College Football Association. That's how you got the bowl games. That's how you got the BCS, the conferences, their power, and then the college football playoffs. And all of these groups that have been working on TV contracts, TV deals, trying to get money for the conferences and for the teams based off TV revenue, they have never disregarded NCAA rules. They have never looked at the NCAA and said, your rules don't count and we're not going to follow them. Even in situations where Ohio State in 2012, the largest fan base in all of college football, could have put them in the national championship versus Notre Dame, two of the largest fan bases in all of college football. Now, granted, you had Alabama there instead. Alabama, pretty large fan base. But you had the opportunity to put the largest fan base in college football, Ohio State, in the national championship in 2012, and they did not choose to go against the NCAA's bowl ban, postseason ban, whatever you want to call it, for Ohio State. And maybe you're saying, well, JR, that doesn't count. That was the BCS. Okay. Let's look back to last year. Last year, James Madison had a bowl ban. They were ineligible for any bowls. They were ineligible for the college football playoff. James Madison was 10-0, and they were ranked number 18 on November 12th, 2023 in the AP poll. The AP poll will continue to rank teams even if they do not have bowl eligibility. And so when they were ineligible for a bowl game, they were contemplating legal action against the NCAA. But in their 11th game of the season, they lost to App State. And James Madison still had a chance to go to a bowl game if there were not enough bowl teams. But they were no longer ever going to get into the college football playoff anymore. And at this time, like I said, James Madison, 10-0, was ranked number 18 in the nation. Although James Madison was ranked number 18 in the nation in the AP poll, they were never ranked in the college football playoffs. Even after they lost and they were 10-1, they were never ranked in the college football playoffs. And you might be saying, well, JR, of course they wouldn't rank them. They're a G5 team. The college football playoffs, you don't rank G5 teams. Well, Liberty, when they became 10-0 the very same week, Liberty was ranked number 25 in the AP poll for the very first time that season. And despite playing a weaker conference and playing a weaker schedule, they were ranked number 25 in the college football playoffs. So you tell me, was James Madison not ranked just because they didn't think they were good enough? Or was the college football playoffs abiding by the rules of the NCAA, saying we're not going to rank them because they're not eligible for the college football playoffs because they have a postseason ban? Now, this postseason ban was because they had come up to the FBS from the FCS. This was not cheating. This was not recruiting. This was none of that. This was just a standard rule by the NCAA, which is a stupid rule, by the way. This was just a standard rule by the NCAA that the first 2 years of you coming into the FPS, you are not bowl eligible. James Madison wanted to fight it. When they lost their first game, they decided not to fight it. So, although we don't have an example of a team with a bowl ban being top 4 and not making the college football playoffs, we do have an example of a top 20 team in the nation, according to the AP poll, that was never ranked by the college football playoffs, showing that the college football playoffs does, in fact, abide by the ruling and the punishments of the NCAA. So if Michigan does get a postseason bowl ban based off history, we can safely assume they will, in fact, honor that bowl ban, honor that postseason ban, and not allow Michigan to make the college football playoffs. Now, the biggest test of that will be to see if they get ranked, right? James Madison was never ranked in the college football playoffs. If Michigan gets ranked, maybe they give it to them. But like I said, based off history, the College Football Playoff Committee will not put Michigan in the college football playoffs. And if you tell me, oh, it's because of money and this school's going to do this and this school's going to do that, there are plenty of other rich schools. There are plenty of other large fan bases of other schools that can be put into the college football playoffs. They're not going to be battling with spots for G5 teams who won't have a fan atmosphere, who will have a bad home field advantage or anything like that. And not all G5 schools, just some. They won't have that happen. So, you tell me, do you agree? Do you think the James Madison thought process is equivalent? Or are you like, JR, no way. They're money hungry, and they're going to let Michigan in, even if they have a postseason ban? Would love to know what you think. Please do go follow me on Twitter at JRs_rankings. Follow me on the Big Ten Huddle. We have 5 episodes a week over there, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And then go follow the OHIO podcast, where I appear on their roundtable every Sunday night. The OHIO podcast is growing. They have 2 new podcasters on their channel. Go check them out, Mello and Devin. They do a great job. I'm super excited for these guys. I think these guys are awesome, and I can't wait to watch their content over there as well. Like I said, Twitter, the Big Ten Huddle, the OHIO podcast. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Do appreciate it. Have a good one.